I asked the question a couple days ago. How many of you can raise your hand with this. How many of you have kids? Fuck, too bad. But anyway, you have kids, okay? Don't raise your hand now. How many of you would like to have your kids grow up just like your parents? You know the answer, don't you? Close to zero, because they were shitty role models. Now, I'm not going to ask the second question. How many of you would like your kids to grow up and be like you? Allah forbid, God forbid. But being a high-performance person is a full-time job. Michael's known me over 20 years. I'm like this when I wake up in the morning to brush my teeth. I'm like this when I brush my teeth before I go to sleep. I'm like this 24/7, 365, and I've been like this for the better part of 50 years. I'm always like this. I'm always pushing the edge of the envelope. And that's why, I'm an overnight success. I've been doing this, I've been coaching 25 and a half years, but all of a sudden I'm popular as hell, but I've been doing this for 50 years. I have the same habits today as I had 50 years ago. The exact same habits. But they're just ingrained in me. They're ingrained in me. For those of you that have never been around the high-performance people like I just alluded to, the Warren Buffetts, Elon Musk, God rest his soul, Steve Jobs, who I happen to have known, they were like this 24/7, 365. It wasn't an act. We have 2 tests on my website. All my stuff's free, by the way. One is called a snowflake test. 96.4% of the people that take the snowflake test fail. The first or second question on the test is, if someone spit in your mother's face, now I'm gonna say this real slow so that you're Dutch, I remember. If someone spit in your mama's face, Baldy, you in the front row right here, okay? What are the choices? There's 4 or 5 choices. The choice that's most clicked is I would try to figure out where he was coming from and if he had a bad day. Now, what the fuck does that have to do with spitting in your mama's face? I would try to figure out if he had a bad day. Does that mean if he had a bad day, it's all right to spit in your mother's face? So the softer test was based on what kind of sacrifices are you willing to be super successful? 60 hours a week. Nobody is willing to work 60 hours a week to be successful. Nobody's willing to miss an anniversary, wedding anniversary to be successful. Nobody is willing to miss a holiday. If you booked a holiday and something important happened in business, would you tell your family to go on the holiday without you and you're not going to go? Nobody said yes. And it's got 27 questions or 26 questions. And they flunked that test worse than the other test because you're not willing to make any sacrifices to be high performance. I still work 50, 60, I don't consider it work. I still work 50, 60 hours a week. And I haven't had to work in 35 years. 35 years. But the world has changed. I mean, and the kids, and when I started giving all my product away for free about 10 years ago, and the reason I went from the highest priced product on the planet to zero, because I got so fucking tired of you crying, moaning, and whinging. Oh, it's too expensive, I can't afford it. So now I give it to you for free. I get 3 times more emails now. Man, there's so much shit here, I don't know where to start, what do I do? So then a year ago, we developed a new product, QLA for Dummies. It was called QLA for Retards, but we got in trouble with the Retardation Association. They're going to sue me for using that word. So we pulled that out and we said just dummies. Dummy seems to be a politically correct, acceptable word, but not retard, okay? And, but the results are even worse. Because what you're saying is, okay, fine. I wasn't raised to go hit somebody if they spit in my mother's face, but I'm not willing to miss a holiday and stay in the office and work and let my family go without me. So the bottom line, you're not willing to do anything. You're not willing to sacrifice anything to be a high-performance person, i.e.,
it's all for free on your website. All Correct. The tests, all the information.
Everything's free.
The audiobook is on. Can we buy the book still, the red one?
No, the first 100 million is audio for free. And then the book that I think is better than that is the $50 billion ebook, which is also free. There's 16.8 gigs of free material. Everything that I've ever produced is free. Because I wanted to take the last excuse from that guy and that guy and that gal why you didn't do it. So I give it to you. I certainly don't need the money. I only charge, as I was telling you the other night at dinner, I used to give seminars at the airport, 1,000 people, for free in the 90s. Absolutely 100% free. And I fed them lunch. And we had cocktails afterwards. And we'd get these nasty notes. I didn't like the lunch. The chicken was cold. You try to feed 1,000 people, the chicken's going to be cold. I didn't like the bartender didn't pour enough whiskey in my drink. This is free. And then the coup de grace, and when I stopped doing that, they wanted me to pay for parking when they came to the free seminar. So I stopped doing that.
Sometimes you sound like a tough boy, like hell. But
I am.
But you care about the world, because otherwise you wouldn't do what
right,
you do.
No, Michael's right. He's looking for my Achilles heel, my chink in my armor. I found making $450 million easy. And I wanted to do something more with my life. And so when I got into the financial coaching, I wanted to change the fabric of financial coaching, which I have. And I wanted to be known as and now that's what they call me, the greatest of all time. But this was just me flapping my mouth 25 years ago. Now I am the greatest of all time, vis-a-vis creating wealth through people like yourselves. And I wanted to leave that legacy. And I wanted people like, I'm from the barrio, I'm a real rough background, been in jail 5 times, did a lot of ugly things, which I don't recommend to anybody. But I'm glad it happened to me, because I know what the other side, like some of you have never been, kicked in the teeth. I know what it is to be kicked in the teeth and my teeth be on the pavement. I know what that feels like. I know the humiliation. Forget the pain. You get over the pain. And I wanted the poor kids to understand that they had a methodology. There was a methodology used by one of them, and I'm considered for poor, although it's hard pressed for me to say how they don't believe that I'm poor now. But I mean, that was once poor and got in a lot of trouble. You can do it if you want to do it bad enough. The operative part of that little description is if you want it bad enough. Muhammad Ali, which used to be Cassius Clay, the great fighter, arguably one of the greatest fighters ever, he was talking shit since he's 14, 15 years old, I'm the greatest, before he ever had a professional fight. In athletics, it's more accepted to talk shit, okay? You've been trained, keep your head down, don't embarrass yourself, don't embarrass the family, don't say things that may not happen. And I do just the opposite. I tell you to set goals beyond your lifetime. I tell you to set goals as soon as humanly possible. When kids come to me, they want to make $1 million, 10 million, and then when they've made 100 million, they say, Mr. Pena, we would have never, ever dreamt that we could create 100 million until we met you. You will never exceed your highest expectation. You will never exceed your highest, craziest thought. Never. That's a guarantee. And so then why, other than you've been taught by your parents in conventional wisdom, to set low goals? They've told you, the theory is you set low goals so then you can stair-step achievement, and you won't be as disappointed when you fail. That's the theory. But normally the person or the persons that have proposed that theory are poor. And but QLA's there. They fall into 3 categories. 10 years ago, my demographics were between 40 and 55, meaning the people that were interested in me. 10 years later, my demographics are 15 to 35. 15 to 35. Now, the people that come, a third of them don't have a pot to piss in nor a window to throw it out of. They don't have 2 euros to rub together. They don't have 2 euros. They've either taken a mortgage out on their house, and in the United States, they can even get student loans, which I don't understand that exactly. But I mean, they get student loans. And of that third, half are still in school, living at home. Okay. The next third have businesses that really aren't real businesses. All they are is they've produced a job for themselves, a job for their wife, a job for their, their cousins. They're doing between 3, 4, 500,000 euros a year in business and maybe 2 million euros in business. They've got a business that barely gets along. A third of them have been reasonably successful vis-a-vis conventional wisdom. They've got businesses 5, 10, 15, 20 million. We've had some people that actually had some serious money. So those third. But that's no representation of who's successful. Because the third that already have money figure out this is too much fucking work, okay? The third that's in between, life has a way of catching up. Their mother is dying of cancer. And I'm not saying this because it's funny. Their 9-year-old daughter gets pregnant. 9. And their whole life, you have a 9-year-old daughter that gets pregnant and you keep her, your whole life changes. I've seen it with my own eyes, okay? And the third, the kids have less baggage. We have kids, the only asset they have is a 15-speed bicycle, which kind of puts the same category you're in, a 15-speed bicycle. For those of you that have done any research at all, on my website, we have teenage multimillionaires flying around in their own jet planes. Teenage multimillionaires flying around in their own jet planes. They understand that?
I think they do.
Okay. You should be embarrassed. Teenage multimillionaires flying around in their own jet plane. And he's the one that had the 15-speed bicycle. That's why I use it a lot. He's not a teenager anymore. He's 21. If he were standing right here, Josh Kim. He's half Korean, half Caucasian. But the one thing that they all have in common is they're fucking hungry. Hungry for a better life. Hungry for change. Hungry for the tough love their parents didn't give them.
So is that what it needs? You have to be hungry. You need to feel the pain.
Growth only comes through pain. You probably don't have any athletes in the audience. But anyway, for those that have read about being an athlete, okay, no pain, no gain. It's the same in life. Most of you have been taught taking action is listening to a podcast. Taking action is reading a book. Taking action is taking a course online. No, taking action is pulling the fucking trigger. You know, I say in 4 words what most people say in a book. Just fucking do it. That's taking action. You don't get the third pretty girl to say yes to buy her a drink unless you ask her, right?
So how do you foresee the financial future 5-10 years from now?
Oh, I thought you were going to say, well, the world, I don't have much faith in the world. The world is irreversible. We're fucked. I mean, we're fucked. But for the next 50 years, I mean, I make hay while the sun shines. Until the next, we're in the 11th month past the longest bull market in recorded history on the planet. Bull market, economics, cycle, stock markets, okay? We're in the 11th month past the old world record. We got Trump coming in again, in my judgment, and he's going to extend that bull market. And he's very stock market oriented. He's very interest rate oriented. Some people say he's too stock market oriented. Some people say he's too interest rate oriented. But that's all good for us. For the next 5 years, to coincide, actually I believe 6 years, to coincide with my 80th birthday in 6 years, it's easy peasy, as our daughter used to say 20 years ago when she was a little girl. And in some countries, like this country, it's easier because the only problem the Netherlands has is a lack of work ethic. They're lazy. They're just flat fucking lazy.
And slow.
Well, I think they're lazy because they're slow. Because they don't want to intellectually engage with somebody like me because I'll rip their head off and shit down their neck. I'm a genius. 2, I'm extremely quick. And I chop people like you up for fucking not even breakfast. That's what they're afraid of. But the bankers are slower than you. They're slower than you. And when you come in with a script that you took off my site for free, they're going to think you are fucking Warren Buffett. But see, I remember what Amsterdam and Rotterdam looked like in 1952 and 53. I was here then as well, as a little kid. Flat, bombed out. You could pick up Nazi war helmets in the rubble. Almost as, this is an exaggeration, but almost as flat as this stage. When I was here from beginning of 52 to the end of 53. During the Korean War, my dad was an army officer, and he was able to bring his dependents here. And we were stationed in France, but Berlin, I mean, most of Europe was flat. See, so I know what it looked like. I know what it looks like now. But the people that had the big, much more expanded comfort zones were your grandparents that fought the Germans. You know, and they had hard times. But I mean, you haven't fought anybody except your waistline. And most of you are losing that battle. You haven't done shit. You know, what do you want your legacy to be? Some of you don't even want to talk. It's another thing you don't want to talk about. What's your legacy going to be? You know, when I tell students and groups, if I were you, anybody in the audience, and I could see a 17-year-old kid, multimillionaire, flying in his fucking jet plane, I'd be embarrassed. Teenager, no education, homeschooled, one of 10 kids, in a fucking... How can you... I don't care how you justify. I don't care what bullshit you can tell yourself. You can't bullshit yourself enough to overcome a fucking teenage multimillionaire in his own fucking jet. You can lie to yourself from now until Christmas, and you can't bullshit yourself over that. And that's only one kid. I got a jillion of them. What are you gonna do? Now, I say this metaphorically because my lawyers say I can't do it anymore. Most of you ought to just take a fucking thing, boom, blow the top of your fucking heads off, and then let Michael pray for you. What are you gonna do? Josh Kim has a cult following of 1 million people following him. When he walks around, he lives in a penthouse in Las Vegas. He races his $2 million race car on the weekends. He just turned 21. Other than jerking off, what were you doing between 17 and 21, guys?
What did he do?
He rolled up home-assisted healthcare. Okay, in America, they want you to get you out of the hospital as soon as possible now. They don't want you to stay more than a few hours or a day or two after surgery, okay? And so they can, home-assisted is you go home and the nurse comes to you or the physio comes to you. And he's rolling those up. He has 2 offices, one in Chicago, one in Las Vegas, and the big margin business. And there's a lot of people that have started those businesses 20, 30, even 40 years ago that have no exit. Healthcare is hot all through Europe, but the hottest of hot is cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. That is sizzling hot. Every time Trump rattles his sword, cybersecurity, and like some cybersecurity guys just stole 40 million in Bitcoin. It's hot. And some of the kids that got into cybersecurity at the beginning of the cycle, 25, 30 years ago, when it really started, are now tired, old. Not old by my standards, but they feel old, and they don't want the hassle anymore, so they went out.
Then last question. Again, you're the grandfather. You have this grandchild.
Correct.
What do you think about the world in 20, 25 years from now?
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard.
What can we do to save it?
Get away from political correctness. I'll answer it in a different way. In 1986, the average handshake, a man's pound per pressure handshake, was 118 pounds. A woman's handshake was 96 pounds. Everybody understand what I'm saying? The pressure, when you shake hands, that was 1986. In 2016, the man's pressure has gone from 118 to 96, and the woman's has gone from 96 to 108. Women are acting like they had a pair, and men don't have a pair. And if that continues, the Greek philosopher said this, and amongst others, I don't see much of a future. But the sun is going to gobble up the earth in about between 7 and 11 billion years. Although I'm planning on living a long time, I'm not going to live quite that long. But just work hard. I don't know any other thing than hard work. And hard work is out of favor now. It just is. And I don't see any way around that. The only people that believe in hard work are people that, not the only, that's an exaggeration, but most of the people that still believe in hard work are people that I produced. And now, if I was sitting up here in a wheelchair like Hawkins, who's dead, God rest his soul, he and I are about the same age, by the way, but I'm not, am I? I'm 6'1", 225, a fucking twisted steel and panther piss. And I can take 10 snowflakes at a time and rip their fucking head off and shit down their neck. Maybe this group 20 at a time. But I'm a dying breed. I'm a Neanderthal. I understand that. I'm sad to say that because I know it's a sad commentary for the human race. But you're not going to, the human race is still going to be here in 20 years. It's going to be, the Russians laugh at us. We're so weak. I mean, the free world. The Chinese laugh at us because we're so weak. Do you understand that? There's 3 economies on the planet, arguably. Chinese, Russia, and the free world. And 2 of the 3 laugh at us. Do you think they're delusional? I don't think so. And here in the Netherlands, you just smile about it. Not just here. In New York City, they smile about it too. But you can have anything you want in life as long as you work hard. And it's honest, legal, moral, and a Dutchman's morality is kind of a swinging bush. And a Dutchman's ethics is kind of a swinging, but as long as it's within the rule of law, and I have a lot of successful, like Michael, Dutch people, but he's really Polish, okay? So let's get that clear. He's really Polish. But kids, you can have whatever you want. Please go to my site, it's all free. And by the way, the same people tomorrow?
Tomorrow, same people.
Okay.
Then we have a surprise. Thank you, Mr. Pena.
Thank you very much.